Boom shakalaka. James Simon, running back, Shreveport, Calvary Baptist Academy, commits to the Longhorns. The second running back commitment of the campaign for Tashard Choice and Steve Sarkisian, the Texas coaching staff, going out and again identifying their guys early and going after them hard. James Simon, a 5'11", 200-pound or so running back out of Shreveport. I'm here with Gerry Hamilton. Gerry, what do you think of this commitment from James Simon?
Well, I like that he's a Louisiana player. I like that he's from I-20, actually, up north. There's a connection with James Simon's father and Tashard Choice. Obviously, James Simon's father was a tremendous running back at Louisiana Tech. Briefly in the NFL, then has been coaching on the college level for more than a decade. He was once the athletic director at Dallas Roosevelt High School. There's still a little connection to Texas, state of Texas as well. But when you watch James Simon, I mean, he's a powerful kid. That was a good jump cut, right? I mean, that was a good jump cut. He has strong cuts going left when you watch him on tape. And then I think the one thing about him is he's going to run through he's going to play through contact, right? I mean, he's got good contact balance. He has a really good feel for the position, obviously with his father being a really good running back and then a college coach. I think he's got some undervalued shiftiness in the open field, right, to make one guy miss and maximize runs. I think he's not going to be a home run hitter with the long speed necessarily, but I think what he's going to end up being a 6 foot, 215-pound, powerful back on contact that can jump cut and skip cut and is a really good fit in the run scheme at Texas.
You look at him and he does make people miss in open space, but also in confined areas. And to your point, Gerry, he does run through contact. We saw some other film of him literally running through a couple of arm tackles, and he doesn't unwittingly avoid contact. Like, he's not scared of contact.
No.
To your point, 1,000 yards rushing as a sophomore, 1,600 plus last year in a Division III for a Division III state championship team in Louisiana. 1,600 yards rushing, 21 TDs. 8.3 yards per carry. You're right. He doesn't have that long speed. He's not a 4.4 guy by any stretch, Gerry. But you know what? Texas is looking for guys that can do a little bit of everything. How does he fit? Now, we've all seen him now. How does he fit alongside a guy like Ricky Stewart out of Chapel Hill, the other running back commitment for the Longhorns?
I think they're a perfect fit because they're totally different players. Ricky Stewart's the slasher to me with speed, with long speed, undervalued speed, similar to Trey Wisner, right, in a lot of regard. Both those guys catch the football really well, but James Simon is that inside zone in between the tackles runner that can bounce it outside. He shows good cutback vision on all his clips. But then you have Ricky Stewart, who's that slasher guy that you get in space. And he's probably a little faster than you think he is. He's got the extra gear. All the high school coaches in East Texas told me Ricky Stewart's faster in person than you think he is when you watch his tape. That's a good sign. So I think they're a perfect complement for each other. And it kind of goes back to what Steve Sarkisian says. He doesn't want to take two running backs that are exactly the same in the same recruiting class. And they achieved that in this class with James Simon and Ricky Stewart.
You look at James Simon. He's very, very impressive young man. Clearly can make people miss. Clearly one of the better running backs around the country. Is Texas now, I assume they're done with recruiting running backs in the class of 2025, right?
Yeah, they're done. They already have one committed in 26, Racine Guillory. Have elite camp coming up June 1st. We'll see if Texas makes a push for a second back early in 26. But yeah, they're done in 2025. And the interesting thing about James Simon, Bobby, is it was a national recruitment by I should have said that earlier. I didn't say it. Notre Dame made a big push there. So he had his pick of schools nationally. Texas A&M was also very much in the picture. Obviously, LSU took two backs before the spring game ended for them in April there. But it was a national recruitment for James Simon. There were some other schools, Florida State, Georgia. A lot of people were on him. But I think really it came down to Texas, Texas A&M, and Notre Dame at the end of the day.
And Notre Dame, you mentioned, it's interesting. His dad's a former high school coach, a former college coach at a number of different stops. The latest one, I think, was Louisiana Tech. They're in northern Louisiana. Jerry, another state champion as well that Steve Sarkisian goes after. That seems to be a little bit of a trend. He likes guys from winning programs. Is it easier for those guys to fit the culture maybe that he's trying to build in Austin?
Yeah, I think it is. I think the other thing with Sark is he's now built the program to where he can get a lot more kids on campus, right? He can really get to know these kids. James Simon was at elite camp last year. I mean, he's been on campus a couple of times. His father was with him last year. So Texas is in a position where they get more kids to campus. So they get a better feel for these guys. What makes them tick? Do they fit the culture? Do they fit everything that Steve Sarkisian's built at Texas? And I think that's the biggest benefit when you win in college athletics is you get more guys to campus. And that gives you a job to better evaluate the guys, not what we're watching here, but all the things you don't see on the huddle tape. They know these guys are good players. They know there's 10, 12 running backs above their line in the country. How many of those guys do you get on campus? How many of those guys end up fitting what you do as a program, whether that be culture, whether that be your strength and conditioning? Maybe it's the way the parents view the program and the relationships you build with them. So I think that's just that's just the greatest benefactor winning is getting more guys on campus. You get more shots on goal with really good players. And if you do that and evaluate well, then you're always going to recruit top 10 classes as a program like Texas.
Well, I think it's interesting because this now with the most recent commits of Devin Coleman, Isaiah Coleman, Jordan Coleman, those triplets. Then you add in now the second running back, James Simon, to this group. Jerry, you look at it, they're at 10 commitments before the month of June.
Yeah.
Right. You mentioned the June elite camp. That's where they saw Simon last year for the first time. That's coming up this weekend. Then we have 3 consecutive weekends of recruiting visits. 45 guys, to our knowledge, set for recruiting visits. Where does Texas end in June, in your opinion? Are they going to be at 15? Are they going to be at 20, 12, 30? I mean, what do you think? Just give me your crystal ball prediction about where Texas ends June.
I'm looking, in June, I don't know. I think mid-July, they're going to have 16, 17 guys committed. So some of these kids who go through the entire official visit process, they may wait and announce around July 4th or whatnot. You can have a couple of guys. I mean, look, a kid like John Mills finishes up his official visit June 14th to 16th to Texas. That's his last official visit. He probably won't wait until mid-July for a decision. So there's going to be 2 or 3 guys. I mean, I could see Texas getting 12, 13, 14 commitments, but I think that number is going to be around 20 before these kids start practice of their senior season in August. I think Texas is going to have 19, 20 commitments by that time.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that they may have a little bit more because I think that Texas is a little bit more in demand.
Yeah,
right now. I mean, last year they hadn't, even though they won 8 games in 22, it wasn't until 23 happened where now Texas is the tickets or the sales spiel is a little bit easier to go through. If you're Steve Sarkisian, you can look at a James Simon and say, look, I mean, we've turned out running backs. We win games. All of those things now you come to Texas, you can be a part of, and that helps overall recruiting, not just with James Simon, but the whole ball of wax, right?
Yeah, and let's go through this real quick. I totally agree with you, buddy. Let's go through that number. What could that number look like by early August? You have 1 quarterback, you have 2 running backs, you're up to 3 or 4 receivers. Let's just say 3 to start. You're at 6, 2 tight ends, you're at 8, 5 offensive linemen, 13, 3D linemen, 16, 2 edges, at least 18, 3 linebackers, 21. I mean, you might get to 23, 24, 25. You might have that type of number if Texas goes with that big of a class for Steve Sarkisian. If they go that big, to your point, I mean, these kids are going to make decisions before their senior season starts. So you could see up to 23, 24 guys committed if Texas goes, if they just go all in on enough of these guys here in June.
Well, in the age of attrition and the transfer portal, over-signing in the high school level has not been an issue. No. I mean, it's kind of the numbers have always kind of worked themselves out, just like they did this year in the offseason. People were worried Texas at one point at 89. then backed all the way down to 81 at one point before going back up to 82, 83, where they sit right now. And so I look at it, Jerry, and I'm of the opinion that, go find the guys you like and get them on board, because I think that attrition will happen whether you want it to or not in some ways, but it will be natural. And I think Texas, as long as they keep on the path that they're on, they're going to be fine as it relates to scholarship numbers.
Hey, Bobby, let's break down the 10 guys real quick. So you have KJ Lacey from Alabama, Mobile. Yep. Your running backs, you have James Simon, I-20 North guy in Shreveport. Been a while since Texas hit the Shreveport here. They're also in on Aiden Anding and Rusting. Been a really long time for Rustin in Texas. Then you get to Ricky Stewart, East Texas kid, Tyler Chapel Hill, just south of Tyler there. Then you go to offensive line, Jackson Christian on I-10 and Port Neches Groves. Devin and Jordan Coleman, I-20 DFW. D-line, Brandon Browns and Space Coast of O'Galley, Florida. Linebacker Elijah Barnes is on I-20 in Dallas, east side there, Dallas skyline. You look at those commitments for Texas, that I-20 corridor in DFW area, as always, is very, very important. Then Texas attacking I-20 east in Louisiana as well, which I think is an area that Texas can have success in. Nick Saban had success with top national guys at Alabama on I-20. Gary Patterson's had success in his days at TCU with some of the more under-recruited guys off I-20 end up being really good players. So if you're looking at areas, you see where Texas had success. And then that sets up the June official visits. You have 9 players from California making official visits in June, 9. Then in Florida, you have more of those guys. You have Myron Charles coming in. You have multiple guys, could be 4 or 5 guys out of Florida making official visits. And then, you look around, you have Georgia, Kevin Wynn, Devin Williams, the corner from Buford. So Texas, that footprint that Sarkisian wants to recruit from, it's really taken shape in this 25 class already. And then you see kind of what's out there for the official visits. And you could see how Texas could pluck 2 or 3 guys from California, could sign 2, 3 more guys from Florida like they did a year ago, and pick and choose in Louisiana. Maybe a quarterback in Alabama, right, which hasn't been done at Texas before. Maybe you can win out for somebody in Georgia. And look, I mean, we'll see what else Johnny Nansen, he may pull a rabbit out of his hat. There's a linebacker from Bishop Gorman coming in as well in June. So that's another area that I think we're going to see Texas be more active in with Johnny Nansen, is at Bishop Gorman, Desert Pines, and Henderson, Nevada.
Yeah, all in that Las Vegas area. Don't forget about Emory Winston out of Georgia too.
And Georgia,
tight end. Yeah, absolutely. So, right now, 10 commitments for the Longhorns. We will see where this goes. But again, I think one of the most important things, impressive things, Tashard Choice's hit rate here on running backs has been nothing short of phenomenal over his first 2 years in Austin. I mean, seriously, Jerry. Last year he goes after 2 guys in Jarrett Gibson and Christian Clark. This year he goes after 3 guys and gets 2 of them in James Simon, Ricky Stewart, and Jordan Davison. I mean, what do you say to that?
Baxter and Wisner got us 2 the year before. So, I mean, it's essentially 6 or 7.
Yeah, unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Really has been. All right, that's going to do it. Congratulations again to James Simon out of Calvary Baptist Academy in Shreveport, Louisiana. For Gerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. James Simon, hook 'em, buddy.